Good morning. I am Reverend Ed Tansey, one of the senior ministers here at Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Boston, along with Reverend George Stewart, otherwise known as Reverend G. And I welcome our congregants this morning here in the sanctuary, and also welcome our live stream viewers to our Sunday morning talk, coming to you from beautiful Cambridge, Massachusetts. Your continued support of this live stream ministry is greatly appreciated, and you can donate by going to our website, cslboston.org, and click on the donate button on the bottom left of the page. So the Centers for Spiritual Living's 2017 theme is Values-Based Living. And this month, our theme is spiritual living through transformation and evolution. And our talk today is dealing with conditions. Dealing with conditions. Now, I'd like to share with you some of the definitions that I found for the word conditions. And the first definition on conditions, the first two will be nouns. So, the state of something, especially with regard to its appearance, to its quality and working order. And the second is the circumstances affecting the way in which people live or work, especially with regard to their safety or well-being. Now, I found two definitions using conditions as a verb, having a significant influence or determining the manner or outcome of something, and the second, bringing something into the desired state for use. And I had to throw in the science of mind definition, of course, and that is that which follows cause, the effect of law. That which follows cause, the effect of law. You know, in today's time, it's so easy to get caught up in the human conditions of life, the world of manifestations, as I call it. Now, I'm not saying that these conditions don't exist, but if we get caught up in the actual conditions, at times in our journey, one could be stuck here. And when one becomes stuck here in that human condition, you could become a victim of that condition. If it is a condition that is not in alignment with the divine truth of God, if it's a condition that doesn't bring us peace, doesn't bring us joy, and doesn't bring us wholeness. And you get stuck there and you become a victim. And when we're coming from a place of living our lives based on the beliefs upon the condition, and the beliefs that are outside of the truth, capital T, the spiritual truth, what we are doing is we're forgetting the truth behind the condition and the principle behind the condition. Would you agree, the ones who have studied this philosophy? I think that says it pretty strongly. So thoughts that come from conditions are thoughts that aren't coming from pure spirit. Thoughts that are not in alignment with the divine. And the science of mind definition said that which follows cause, the effect of law. So you know what our job is, really? Here's what I feel our job is. It's to clear away the thoughts that come from the effects and not our true selves. Clear away those thoughts that come from the effects and not our true self. Remember that what we experience in our life is what has been impressed upon the law. I'm going to repeat that. what we experience in our lives is what we impress upon the law. What we impress upon the law does what?
Manifest.
Thank you. It manifests. It's as simple as that. The law is always working. So, what and how do we impress upon the law? How do we impress upon the law? By what?
Spiritual mind treatment.
Spiritual mind treatment. But what else? Our thoughts. Things that we think. By the feelings we feel. By the words we say. These are all ways that we impress upon the law. Okay? So I found this quote by Ernest Holmes that I feel is worth remembering concerning thoughts. It depends then upon what we think, what we shall become. And the sooner individuals who are seeking to operate this principle will realize that it depends upon only what they think and depends upon nothing else. And the sooner they learn to depend upon nothing else, the sooner they will demonstrate that principle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, clearly stated. So I said this quote, perfect. So when we are dealing with conditions, it really behooves us to realize when it comes to change, when it comes concerning change, think about this, it is not the condition that we're dealing with. It is the thought and nothing else. If we could remember that, then we wouldn't get caught up in these outside conditions. We could work through them because we know we can change the conditions by what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're feeling. So when our thoughts are in alignment with the divine, and when we can look at the conditions through the eyes of the divine, and that's when you will completely believe in the divine truth. And that's when you see, through, I call it, the eyes of the divine. You see, and you have the belief in truth. And a belief in truth is a belief of God. It all is so interconnected. And when you walk this truth, when you come from this truth, when you perceive life from this truth, I really feel that's when one experiences the miracles of life. That's when you experience the miracles of life. You know, the science of mind philosophy teaches that there is a power of good in the universe, and we can use it. We can use it. And a very good example of using the power of God is when we do a spiritual mind treatment. I heard someone say that. Nan, you said that. That's one of the ways we impress upon the law, by doing a spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of prayer. What we do is that we expect that as a result of the treatment, our beliefs have changed. We're working with our beliefs, the person giving the treatment. And knowing that the law of cause and effects takes the belief, then it's created in our outer world. It creates in the conditions of the world what we are praying for, what we're giving thanks for already. We expect the conditions to be changed in our world. Isn't that correct, people who do spiritual mind treatment? You expect it. You know it. So you see, the saying, change your thinking, change your life, we have immediate power to the immediate power of the limitless power of the divine. Because we're believing in the truth. We're living from the truth. We know the truth. We know our power, which is the power of the divine. And we express that in our own unique way. So there was a person who worked with Ernest Holmes in the Church of Religious Science in Los Angeles. His name was Dr. Frederick Bales. Have anyone heard of him? Okay, good. Well, in his 20s, before insulin was even discovered, he developed diabetes. Now, at that time, that diagnosis was like a death sentence. But after reading the ideas that he found in the Edinburgh Lectures by Judge Thomas Troward, and applying the principles to his own conditions, he applied the principles to his own conditions, he made a complete recovery. He made a complete recovery. So what he did, of course, he went inside, he went within. He did his work about what he was thinking, about his beliefs, and he had the power to change a condition because, bottom line, he changed his beliefs. Of course, along with knowing, the other key is knowing the truth of his being, which is the truth of the divine. There is such limitless power that we have when we live that truth. I know that when I live from that truth, I feel like I could walk a tight wire way, way up in the air. But I don't believe it that much in relation to my ability to do that. But imagine if I was truly embodying that, there'd be nothing that I'd be afraid of. Now, I wouldn't go and step in front of a car thinking, here I am, Mighty Mouse, etc. But, in realistic terms, I would be coming from a strength within that is so freeing, so freeing. So you hear us say many times, weeding your garden, taking the weeds and replacing them with flowers. Now, you might be saying, okay, how does a garden fit in with all of this? But here what we do is we relate the garden to our consciousness. The weeds are the thoughts, the beliefs that no longer serve us. So they're taking up space in our mind. So what we do is we work with changing those thoughts and beliefs in our consciousness and replace them with the pretty flowers, the flowers of, or the thinking of, wholeness, completeness, oneness, so that your garden can be beautiful, so that your garden can be expressive, so that your consciousness can be strong, your consciousness can be beautiful, your consciousness can have strength that we don't even imagine. We can't even imagine if we can just focus on our thoughts and our beliefs coming from the divine. I think we have it made. Would you agree? Would you agree on that? It's amazing. So in our spiritual mind treatments, the most effective ones are the ones when we realize the truth. And we realize the truth, which is really in step one, the recognition of spirit as all. And when that is crystal clear, it brings us to a greater realization of the absolute. It brings us to a greater realization of the absolute truth, and it brings us to a more of a realization of us, because we're one with that truth. And this is the realization that produces the so-called miracles of healing, because the healings are only really a revealing of truth. Did you kind of agree with me on that? It's the revealing of truth. So I'm going to leave you with this final statement. I don't have it. Okay, so the final statement is this. I'm thinking I'm forgetting a slide, but I don't think I have. Okay. The final statement for me is this. Thoughts of expansion, unfoldment of our greater good, of wholeness and oneness come from spirit. Thoughts of limitation, separation, being less than, thoughts that are not in alignment with the divine, come from the effects of human experience. And we're a whole lot more than that, aren't we, people?
Yes,
We are a whole lot more than that.
Amen, Rabbi.
Thank you.
So, something came to me as I heard Reverend Ed talking, because it's one of my favorite things, because I make my poor mother crazy with this, because she was a worrier. How many are worriers in the room or have been worriers? Been worriers.
Yes.
We're no longer up until now.
Up until
Up
now.
until now, right? Right.
That's
Up
right.
until
I
now.
used to say to my mother, bless her heart, and she gets so mad at me, but I used to say to her, I say, Mom, if you're going to pray, don't worry. And if you're going to worry, don't pray. Because worrying is praying in the wrong direction.
Yes, that's
Worry is calling forth what we don't want, the condition we don't desire. in our life.
right.
Yeah.
So it was real important to remember that. So my poor mother, God bless her heart, she went through so much with me. But she is definitely vibrating on a higher level now since she has moved on from this path. So here's my question. Does the demonstration depend on the environment, conditions, location, personality, or opportunity? Good for you. Because that is indeed what Ernest Holmes said. The possibility of demonstration does not depend upon environment, condition, location, personality, or opportunity. He went on to say, it depends solely upon our belief and our acceptance and our willingness to comply with the law through which all good comes.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
You know, I love that you did a reading from Love and Law,
Mm.
because it so ties in with this understanding, you know, that it is our job to be in the love. And the love is really what we are creating in the world, what we are bringing forth in the world. The law is automatic. We don't have to worry about it. The law is just responding. So if I'm in love, what am I bringing forth?
Love.
Love. And doesn't love fit into everything that we talk about the divine in? Prosperity, joy, peace, perfection, wholeness, all of that. You know, when we talk about these ideas of what God is, and I think that's so important. So if I don't get a manifestation or demonstration, does that mean I should give up? No, right? Right? Sometimes it takes time. Because we're working on our own consciousness. As Reverend Ed shared, we're working on our own consciousness. So does it mean that I'm doing something wrong? But I should be open, right? I should be listening. I should be looking for those possibilities of whatever the divine has to say. So you'll remember a couple of weeks ago when I shared this slide with you, and I got it right this time, because last time we had two ins instead of an of and an in, so I underlined them just to make sure that it was clear. But Ernest Holmes said that there is no process of healing, but there is generally a process in healing. This process is the time and effort which we undergo in our realization of truth. Realization of truth. It's already there. It's already yours. But our job is to go through or be a part of this process in healing. And why is there no process of healing? Right. And because there's nothing to heal.
There's nothing to hear.
There's only truth to be revealed.
Yes.
There's only truth to be revealed. Because we get so caught up in the conditions that we miss the truth. That we forget the truth. We forget our truth. So I think that's really important. Now, Reverend Ed earlier mentioned, this, and I really like this, that he talked about Ernest Holmes' statement, that there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. And I think that's an awesome realization. And at that time, that was a really powerful thing. But I think there's more to this. And Dr. Michael Beckwith goes on to say that it can use us. And in his book, Life Visioning, he says, I'm available to what wants to emerge through me.
Yeah.
When I can be in that place, I'm opening up an even greater idea. Because when I think I can use it, what happens? Where do I get? In my head, right? In my conditions. So I'm looking at it from my limited view. But if I can open up to that greater view, which is what I love about the whole idea of visioning. You know, envisioning came forward later on in our movement with Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. But it opened up a whole new idea of how this teaching goes and how this teaching unfolds. So it's really important to realize how important these things are, because that visioning process opens up the possibility for the channels to release us from the egoic ideas. I think most people here have visioned, have done the visioning process. The visioning process takes you out of your beingness, or your human beingness, and puts you into the divine beingness, and opens up greater possibilities for you to hear more, for you to do more, for you to see more in your life. And so that's the awesome thing about this. So it's a power that we can use, but it can use us. And when it uses us, isn't it better? When we release our ideas of how it should show up in our life, isn't it better? Isn't life better when we can let go of our attachments and our connections and our requirements and all those things that we think we have to control? Life is so much better when we can do that. It's so awesome. So when our direction of spiritual mind, so then once we get all of the ideas of the divine greater idea, then we can take our spiritual mind treatment or our other things to really connect to that indwelling spirit. And from that indwelling spirit, then to have that reveal into the form of our lives, into our conditions, but the conditions we desire. Not dealing with the conditions in the conditions. I think I mentioned this last week, rising above that idea, where we are. Because if you're here, if I'm in the condition, I can't see the answer. But if I can rise above that, that's what visioning does. It rises you above that. It rises you above so that you can see it from a higher level, from a more infinite level, from the higher you, from who you are. So then we can incorporate all of our different spiritual practices to help us to bring forward the condition we desire in our life. Spiritual mind treatment is a great focusing energy, but sometimes it's visualization. Sometimes getting that picture to help create that mental equivalent of what it is we desire to experience in our life. You know, we use the vision to get the basic idea, and then we can visualize to bring forward that greater good in a very clear and distinct way for ourselves. And always add to it this or something better. Because when I say this or something better, I'm asking for the greater good. And I'm getting out of my little square box, right? That little camera, that lens that we look through life as. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say that we never desert principle. We never desert principle, because we're talking about principle here. This is a principle that is provable, scientific, absolutely works every time. It always does. So we never desert that, even when it feels that it has deserted us. Anybody ever been there? Like it deserted you? Yeah, right? We go through those moments. We get to those places. But it's never, ever deserting you. Ever. You are never alone. It is always with you. And I don't care what name you choose to call it. You can call it a podium for all of me. But it's that presence that supports and sustains everything that we do and everything that we are. And that's an awesome realization. I have never had a closer experience of the divine than I have had since I learned the spiritual practices of science and mind. I have never known God the way I did before, in my old ways, my old traditions. I've never known it more than I do right now. It brings me so much joy to realize that. So Ernest Holmes says you are not dealing with conditions, you are dealing with thought. Thought, nothing else. Thought and spirit. And is that not true? Absolutely. So as we live our current conditions, created by our present beliefs, we know that we can change our belief thought by thought at any moment to experience our highest beingness. Highest yet to be. I love that too. So this use that we make of our spiritual practices allows us to open the journey from victim to victory and move out of the condition and reveal our true self. So will you join with me as we reveal our true self each day? Yes. Awesome. All right, so let's join in the affirmation here. And this is Ernest Holmes. I love this. So let's just read this together. There is one power, one God, one all, one life, and that life is in me now. I am a manifestation of that one. How does that feel? What, you want to say it again? You want to say it again?
Let's say it again.
Let's read it again together. There is one power, one God, one all, one life, and that life is in me now. I am a manifestation of that one. So it is.
So it is.
Namaste.
Namaste.
All right, so now it's time for our spiritual mind treatment. So if you will join with me in prayer. Let's just take a deep breath, and as we exhale, release with sound. Allowing the body to become fully supported where you are. I recognize and I realize that there is one infinite universal source, substance, creative intelligence that I call the Mother, Father, God, Goddess. That is in all things, as all things, through all things. This universal absolute creative force that is the cause of everything. That is the scientific principle, the quantum energy, the quantum physics that brings forth everything from itself. It is the ultimate first cause of everything. And as I recognize that it is indeed the first cause of everything, I know that it is the first cause of my being, of who I am. As an individualized expression of this one infinite universal source, I know who I am. I am made of all that it is. I am an expression of God. And as I recognize that about myself, and that I receive all of the abundant gifts of the universe from this same source, I know and I declare and I claim and I recognize that that is the truth of each and every one in this room. Those who are with us now and those who may be away at this time, but they are absolutely one in this same energy, in this same creative force. And I know this of all throughout the cosmos. I know this of everything. And as I recognize this complete and absolute and utter oneness that exists continuously, it is from here that I call forth right here and right now perfect conditions for each one's life here. For each one to experience and know the power of releasing the conditions and stepping into truth. And that in stepping into this truth, each life is absolutely catapulted into a greater way of being. A more perfect expression, a more complete, abundant, opulent, joyous, absolutely overflowing, perfect and whole life. I recognize and I claim all of this right here and right now, for I know it is indeed the Mother, Father, God's good pleasure to give the kingdom right here and right now, and I claim this kingdom with joy and thanksgiving and profound gratitude. For I know, and I know that this power says yes. And I claim that yes right here and right now. I claim it, I declare it. As I release and I let go. I let this word flow from my mouth into the infinite universal creative source, that universal absolute reality, the law, that receives the impulse of these words and makes it so right here and right now. I can see that magical alchemy taking place right now in this moment. And I claim it for each one as I see that it is done. And I can release and be free and know that it is complete. And so in gratitude and thanksgiving, I just simply say, Ashe, blessed be, Amen, Amen. And join with me in saying, and so it is.